Poštovani gledatelji, dobrodošli u emisiju Snaga molitve. S nama je danas Candramauli Swami, duhovni učitelj, s kojim ćemo popričati o vajšnavskoj vjerskoj zajednici. Dobar vam dan, dobrodošli.
Dobar dan.
A Domagoj Tkalčec će biti naš službeni prevoditelj. Evo, za početak, što predstavljate?
She is asking for the start, what are we representing?
We're representing an eternal, spiritual, religious practice that goes back at least 5,000 years, based on the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita, which is one of the oldest religious scriptures in the world. The Gita is very unique in its that it's scripture that is spoken by God Himself. There's more than 640 million people who follow Bhagavad Gita as their religious scripture. Now, for the last 40 years, these teachings of Bhagavad Gita have come to the Western world, and many persons are now practicing that same teaching in different countries in the Western world.
Predstavite se u kratkim crtama našim gledateljima.
Can you shortly say something about us to the public?
Well, our teachings are two. It's daily practice of prayer and meditation, and at the same time carrying out activities in service to God. Our basic principle is that every living being is a spiritual being, and every living being has an eternal relationship with God. We call God Krishna. That's one of the names of God. And our duty and obligation to God is to serve God for the pleasure of God. And so we dedicate all our activities to the service of God.
Ali da ipak preciziramo koje su osnovne, znači, postavke duhovnosti. Sad spomenuto je prakticiranje, ali da spomenemo i osnovne postavke, znači, same duhovnosti.
So if you can say something about the basics of our teachings, of spiritual teachings, which we represent, not so much about practice, but more about teachings.
The teachings are mentioned in two basic scriptures, which is called the Bhagavad Gita, which means the song of God, spoken by God, and another scripture which is called Srimad Bhagavatam, which means the opulent Supreme Lord. The teachings teach basically to glorify God, which is the essence of all spiritual practice. And that glorification comes in the form of chanting the names of God. So we chant the names of God, which is called the Hare Krishna mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this is our basic prayer. It's a prayer for service. It's a prayer of devotion to God. And then we follow some restrictions that we don't allow for eating of meat, fish, or eggs. We are basically vegetarians, and we offer all our food to God. We don't take intoxication, any kind of alcohol, or any kind of a stimulant that is artificial, drugs like that. We don't engage in sexual activities except in marriage and only for the procreation of children. And the last is no gambling.
Kako gledate na svijet? Ajmo za početak, kako gledate na svijet?
How do we see the world?
We see the world as a creation of God to be used in the service of God. Now, the misunderstanding is that the world is for our enjoyment. But the spiritual understanding is God has created this world, and we can enjoy this world if we use it for the service of God, because it belongs to Him. Anything that's created by someone means that that's their property. So God lets us use the things in this world for our, what we say, necessities, to live nicely. But if we go beyond what is needed, and we simply try to enjoy, forgetting about the source, then we live in what is called ignorance.
A što onda čovjek predstavlja u cijelom tom svijetu?
So what is a man representing in this world? What is his role?
Well, every living being is a spiritual being, whether you're in the body of a woman, a man, a cat, a dog, or any living being, a tree, a blade of grass. Wherever you see life, you see spirit. Now, the human form of life is special because there is higher intelligence. And that higher intelligence gives us a choice to choose to either to serve God or to reject God. So the human form of life gives us that ability to discriminate between what is our relationship with God, or we can reject that.
Bog, osim što je stvoritelj, što on jest još?
So God is a creator of everything. So what else do we know about him? What else is his?
He's also maintaining us. Not only does he create, but he gives us what we need in order to live. And he's also the time factor. The time factor means that thing which ends everything. So he's also the destroyer too. So God is the creator, the source of everything. He creates what we call the ingredients of this material world, and then his servants put it together, and this formulates what is called the created cosmic energy. And that energy has a purpose. It's meant to give us happiness when we connect it with God. People try to enjoy something that they can't enjoy, and that's why people suffer. If we want to be happy, we just offer what God gives us in the service of God. That means dedicating all our activities to God. And then, because God is pleased by that, he takes care of us. He gives us what we need. But most of all, he gives us peace of mind, which is something we can't create ourselves.
Jedna od važnih dijelova, znači, duhovnosti je i yoga, kao jedna vrst prakse, ali nije samo to.
So can you say something about yoga? Because it's connected with spiritual things, but also people think it's just some exercises. So
there's different kinds of yoga. We teach what is called bhakti yoga. Bhakti means love and devotion. So yoga comes from the word, it's similar to the Latin word religion. Religion comes from the Latin word religio, which means to bind back. Yoga comes from the Sanskrit word, means to link up or connect to. So yoga means to connect to. So there's different types of yoga. So you can connect God through knowledge, that is called jnana yoga. Karma through activities. Hatha yoga through different types of meditations and exercises. And bhakti means to serve God with love. And that is called, the Lord explains that yoga has different levels, but the highest yoga is the yoga of love, or bhakti. So how to perform bhakti yoga means to see God as the source of everything, the controller of everything, and the best friend.
Vi ste zapravo, više niste ni gost u Karlovcu. Jedan od razloga zašto i češće dolazite u Karlovac je upravo taj što ovdje ima sljedbenika. Kakva je situacija brojčano, a onda ne samo u Karlovcu, nego i u Hrvatskoj?
So you are not a visitor, a guest anymore in Karlovac. You are like...
I spend a lot of time here.
So if you can say something, one of the reasons why you came here is probably because there is a lot of people practicing it here, or also in Croatia. So if you can say something about it.
Every year, the devotees who live in Croatia put on this big festival in June, where they invite people from around the world to come and to give lectures. So in 2002 I came. That was my first year. And then I started to come. And gradually I started to get acquainted with the people here. And because I'm a teacher, people started to come as students. So now I have many students here. So in order to continue that relationship, I come to see my students and to encourage others to like that.
A kakva je situacija, barem brojčano?
And the numbers of devotees in Croatia?
In Croatia, I'd say a few thousand, 2,000-3,000.
Valja i spomenuti da mnogi zaziru i nerijetko krivo tumače ono što predstavljate. Kako to komentirati?
Many people, public, misunderstands or misinterprets our being here and what we represent. So how do you explain this?
Well, we have our books, which we make available. We have a little temple here, which is in the area of Duga Resa. It's in the village, and we invite people to come and visit our temple. We have our books. And when the warmer weather is available, we usually go out on the streets and distribute books, and we also do singing and dancing on the streets, because our program is to glorify God through song and through dance like that. So I don't know, sometimes people see us on the streets chanting and singing like that. But we have our address, people can come and find us. Or, if they want, they can go online, and there is one website called krishna.com, and you can find out everything about our tradition and more. That's KRISHNA.com. That's the main website of the Hare Krishnas worldwide.
Možemo se osvrnuti na pojam reinkarnacije koji nije svojstven zapadnjačkim monoteističkim religijama.
Western monotheistic religions don't speak so much or don't know so much about reincarnation. So can you say something about what reincarnation actually is?
This is a very good question. It's also it's an important question too. Because if you know this, you can understand what's happening to you and why it's happening to you. We have a body. It's called a physical body. Now, inside the physical body, there's another body called the subtle body. And that is made up our mind, our intelligence, and what is called ego, the sense of personal identity. Now, when death comes, the physical body is finished, but the subtle body takes the soul. The soul is enwrapped with the subtle body and the physical body to another body based on what we did in this lifetime. That's called the law of karma. Karma means action and reaction. If we do something, we get a qualitative reaction accordingly. In other words, what goes around comes around, we usually say, like that. Everyone's responsible for what they do, and there's a reaction for whatever they do, like that. So, and that brings about a certain pattern in life, and then when we die, our consciousness will take us to the next body based on our desires and activities in this life.
A tko se može reinkarnirati, a tko ne?
So who can reincarnate and who cannot reincarnate?
Well, every soul, every living being is a spiritual being. We have a body, so every soul goes to another body based on what they did in this body and in previous lives also. So everyone goes into another body. But the goal is, the spiritual goal is to stop taking bodies. To stop reincarnation is success. Because this world, we see it as a place of suffering. So when we become, what we say, full in devotion to God, and we develop our love for God, then at the end of that life, we return to God in the spiritual world. That's the end of the reincarnation. So it's like when you go to school, if you don't pass, you got to come back and do it again. When you pass, you go on to the higher level, like that.
Iskustvo pokazuje kako sve više ljudi danas smatra da jesu religiozni, ali ne prakticiraju svoju vjeru. To je nekako boljka suvremenog svijeta, brzog svijeta. Što mislite zašto je to tako? Vjerujem da i vaša vjerska zajednica pruža jednu alternativu upravo takvim
Many people
ljudima.
today in the world, they say about themselves they are religious, but actually they do not practice. So this is like becoming really modern in the world today. So our community is representing some alternative to these ways. So what is our explanation of this and what is our solution for this?
Well, you can't avoid life. You must function in life, and you must understand one thing, that whether you believe in God or you don't believe in God, God is there. So we're accountable for what we do. So our particular tradition is not, it's a religion in one sense, but it's a way of life in another sense. It teaches us how to become happy in this world, in the sense that a lot of religions teach that it's after you get all the rewards. But you can become happy now by glorifying God and living according to the principles of spiritual life, which are human principles. Where to be kind, to be humble, to be tolerant, to be patient, to be generous, to be honest, to be clean, to be truthful. These are all principles that make up religion. But then again, where is this all coming from? There's a source, and that is God. So there's no such thing as religion without God. It's just like there's no such thing as a son without a father, or a child without a parent. There's a source to everything. So God is our source. He's our spiritual source, and He's our material maintainer. He maintains this world for our benefit like that. And there's laws. If we follow the laws, we're happy. It's like if you break the laws of the state, there's some punishment, some fine, some jail. And so there's laws of God also. So the scriptures teach us what is the laws of God. So those who are not so enthusiastic to follow what we say a religious tradition, we just say chant the name of God, that's all. And you can be happy. And so we make it easy, chant God's name. And in the scriptures there's so many names of God. But we follow the process of chanting the name of Krishna. So we chant, this is called Maha Mantra. Mantra is divided into two words, man-tra. Man means mind, and tra means to release. So if we want to be happy, we got to get our mind away from the material into the spiritual. And this mantra will take your mind to the spiritual platform automatically, instantly, if we practice this with some faith.
I sa vjerom ćemo i završiti. Hvala vam što ste bili gost.
We will finish with the name of faith, so we thank you so much for being a guest here.
Thank you. My pleasure.
A vama, dragi gledatelji, želim ugodan ostatak dana uz program televizije 4 rijeke i vidimo se iduće subote u isto vrijeme.
Lateranska bazilika u Rimu je ranija papinska biskupska crkva. Bazilika Svetog Petra kao centralna crkva, građevina kršćanstva, izgrađena je tek u kasnom srednjem vijeku. Požari, potresi, ratovi, pljačke učinili su potrebnim tu crkvu uvijek iznova restaurirati, pregrađivati, dograđivati. Na današnji blagdan treba nas, više od zgrade iz kamena, zanimati crkva koja se sastoji od živog kamenja. Obljetnica posvete bazilike koju je izgradio u Laternu car Konstantin na današnji se dan slavi tamo od 12. stoljeća. Ovaj se blagdan najprije svetkovao samo u Rimu, zatim je u čast bazilike nazvane majkom i glavom svih crkava Rima i svijeta proširen na sav rimski obred kao znak ljubavi i jedinstva s Petrovom stolicom, koja, kako je napisao sveti Ignacije Antiohijski, predsjeda svekolikom skupu ljubavi. Kada je car Konstantin 313. godine milanskim ediktom dao slobodu kršćanima, oni su izišli iz katakombi, te su tražili javne zgrade za svoja okupljanja i slavljenje Euharistije. Budući da crkava kao građevina u to doba još nije bilo, poslužile su im zgrade, napose u Rimu gdje je stolovao rimski biskup, ujedno i papa, koje su već bile sagrađene. Nisu uzimali najljepše zgrade, nego obično skromne sale, dvorane koje su služile kao tržnice, odnosno zgrade suda, a koje su se zvale bazilika. To su zgrade tipa troj- ili peterobrodnih hala, sala ili lađa. Središnja lađa završavala je apsidom gdje je imao svoje mjesto sudac ili car. Bitno je to što kršćani u tu apsidu stavljaju oltar, koji postaje središte sveg događanja, a hala, napose njezina središnja lađa, čiji je ulaz s istoka je samo put, staza, cesta do oltara, središta. U Lateranskoj bazilici hala je duga 90 metara, tako je i živa crkva na putu prema vječnosti, a i Abraham je bio na putu. Budući da biskup zastupa zajednicu i u javnosti, tako je od sada njegovo sjedište u bazilici povišeno. Tako je Lateranska bazilika otprilike 12 stoljeća služila kao sjedište rimskog biskupa, ujedno i pape.